Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. If you notice, I've got my turf set out with some footballs today. That's because we're going to be talking about players' salaries. Now, I've often said in the past, I don't begrudge players for making as much as they do from billionaire owners. I'm going to justify that today. So I started to do research on the NFL because the NFL has a pretty decent amount of cash coming into it, and they're known for having a pretty restrictive collective bargaining agreement. Unlike the National Basketball Association, where the free agents seem to get all the money thrown at them, and that's economies of scale. NBA teams make tons of money, and they only sign 12 players at most? Whereas NFL teams have 50, 60 people, plus equipment people, plus all the other things that you want to throw in there. But I started doing research into what the athletes make. And I decided to look at the minimum salaries, because I think there's truth in plumbing the bottom of every mystery. Well, in 2011, the minimum salary possible for an NFL player to make was $375,000. Now, this comes with a couple caveats. That's the minimum they can pay you, but they can sign you to that, put you on the practice squad, and cut you a week later. So you're going to see like $30,000, $40,000 of that. And as a minimum salary, it can also include bonuses and stuff like that. But $375,000 is a pretty good scratch for what is essentially a job. It's an athletic job, and there is a mental component to any sport. I mean, not everybody can go out and shoot a golf club or shoot pool, or, far less run a basketball court or hit a baseball or catch or tackle a football player. But since 2011 to 2020, so just 9 years, that minimum salary went from $375,000 to $610,000. That's right. It nearly doubled. How many people out there doubled their income between 2011 and 2020 by staying in essentially the same job? Remember, these are minimum salaries, the least you can possibly get paid. In 2021, that was $660,000. This year, 2022, it'll be $705,000. In 2023, $750,000. So as you can see, that minimum salary hikes up quite a bit. What we are going to use this as is an illustration. Again, don't be mad at the athletes. They put their bodies through hell. And you're talking about people taking money from billionaires. Don't feel too bad for the billionaires they're taking their money from. As a matter of fact, for an illustration, the Dallas Cowboys franchise is worth $6.92 billion, and that's estimated. Let's go in terms of income. The salary cap, that means all the players that you have on your team, is $208 million, give or take. The Chicago Bears made $370 million in 2020. So you can see a lot of their a lot of their revenue is taken up by the salary cap. Probably why they're not doing so well. And it's kind of a vicious cycle. If you don't do well, you don't sell merchandise. But the Chicago Bears definitely have the money if they want it. The Dallas Cowboys, again, with that same $208.2 million salary cap, took in $800 million in revenue. That revenue comes in through ticket sales, I don't think it includes merchandise. I couldn't get a very good breakdown, but that's ticket sales, that's concessions, that's all the endorsements that the team gets. There's a lot included in that revenue. but it still leaves a lot out. For example, if a player goes out and signs a deal with Nike, that's not counted against the salary cap. And indeed, in the past, that's the way they used to get around the salary cap. They give you a deal within the company on the side, but the leagues have all figured that one out long ago. But I want to draw attention to a literal doubling in salary in 9 years. Look at your average person working an average job. Most people are making in between $20,000 and $80,000, roughly in that range. Well, here's some news for you, my friend. That was the NFL minimum salary in the 1970s. And that was pretty good money in the 70s. You could raise a family off of it. Now, as an athlete, you never know whether any play is your last. All sorts of crazy things happen. But it also makes you wonder. These big companies, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, yes, they have a fantastic number of employees, but they also have a huge amount of revenue. And every year they like to tell us, oh, we gain money this way, that way. Our stockholders are getting these many dividends. We're able to borrow against that in bonds next year, and they paint this rosy picture. But you are not seeing that same dividend in your workload. Quite the opposite. Your workload has gone up dramatically, just like an athlete of today has to keep themselves in tip-top shape for pretty much all year round, instead of the guys who go home, drink beer and eat chicken wings 6 months of the year, then come back, get in shape in training camp, and then, dominate the league. Well, you work year round, and again, you're probably in the $20,000 to $80,000 bracket, roughly. If you're one of the elites, I appreciate you listening, but this leads us to a fundamental problem. McDonald's and Burger King and, say, a local courier company or nursing. Well, I don't want to include the medical fields. Let's stay away from medical. But most service companies are criminally underpaying their employees, and they're allowed to get away with it. Now, why? Very simple. Remember I mentioned the CBA, the Collective Bargaining Agreement. Well, they've spent years, since at least the 1980s and 1990s, where I can remember people talking about downsizing and right-sizing and changing the salary structure and union busting. And during that time, people drank the Kool-Aid. They bought into it whole hog. And now we can see the difference of what happens when you have a good collective bargaining unit. In the NFL case, the players' union, or in any sports team, their players' union. The teachers get maligned because they have a pretty good salary and pretty good pension. But that's because they fought for it. They fought tooth and nail. And there have been many governments who have tried to break them, and they have stood strong. Basically, my lesson for the day, if you choose to listen to Silverlight, is the rewards are out there, but we have to stand together to get them. Now, divide and conquer is the oldest trick in the book. First thing they'll come back at the union is, well, we want the laborers to be here, we want the stewards to be here, we want this person here. And that's the first thing they do to try to make sure that we don't talk together, and in fact that we turn against each other. These are all well-documented tricks. Believe me, the players' unions have that trouble every time that they go on strike. They have to spend years building up enough money that they can pay their players off so the players aren't tempted to jump the line and go play. Scabs, if you will. You have the same problem in your workplace. There's some people who say, I need the money, and they do. There's still a few people out there that are living pretty decent and work because they want to, and God bless them. No point to being envious of them for having a good situation in their life. But the situation should be more like that worldwide. Earlier today, the last episode, I was backhandedly praising Elon Musk for advancing the frontiers of science. That's his contribution to humankind in lieu of charity. But if you remember, Or if you haven't listened, my caveat to that is he's creating high-paying jobs. So I can kind of give him a pass, saying, you know what? Yeah, it's not helping feed the homeless except in an indirect way, but he is creating STEM jobs, which are vital to the future. For somebody like Bill Gates, where he can have his cleaner working minimum wage, it's almost criminal that people and billionaires get away with the stuff that they do. It shouldn't be allowed. And you know what? Unless you're independently wealthy, it's happening to you too. So, my friends, my listeners, my comrades, while I'm not a Soviet, while I'm not a socialist, I'm not any buzzword that you can tag me with, there needs to be more equity. If football players can have their revenues go up that substantially, and they're paid based on a percentage of what the team makes, remember that. But if they can negotiate that, so can you. Salaries should be tied to income. If the company makes a whole lot of income, their employees should be able to get a higher cost of living increase. And maybe that's legislation we have to start considering. And we'll have to figure out a way for companies not to be able to hide their revenue. Yes, I know there's problems that need to be worked out. A mom and pop operation that are having trouble making ends meet are going to have a more difficult time of it than, I don't know, pick somebody rich in your local area. And that is an unfortunate truth. Hiring labor is expensive. But the Green Bay Packers, who literally don't have an owner, or conversely, they have as many owners as they want, they're considered a small market team. They manage to make money. Maybe it's time to let some Darwinism decide who gets to stay and who gets to go. Like I said, there's opportunities to hide money, there's opportunities to make money, but NFL players and CFL players and NBA players and MLB players and everybody else were criminally underpaid for a long, long time. They stuck together through the difficult times, and now they're reaping their rewards. I'm not seeing that happening in the general economy. Quite the opposite. So many people just accept it. I mean, my significant other got a pay raise, and she was very happy until I pointed out that the federal government had mandated that the minimum wage was raised. And so they gave her a pay raise, and they were acting like it was a big secret and she was special, when in fact they had just given her what the government mandated. Big government is not something anybody wants. But since people won't stick together through collective bargaining, maybe we have to consider that the only tool that we have left. We need to reform government to serve the wishes of the people. And the people often don't know what they want. So that's a scary concept, but I'll take my chances in the dictatorship of the proletariat as compared to the needs of the few, the billionaires and the wealthy. But we need to learn to stick together, and this is a central message of the Silverlight Show. I'll say it over and over again. I'll say it till I go blue in the face. It's too easy to divide people. We don't know how to stick together. And because of that, it's easy for us to be manipulated, especially when we can be isolated. We stand together, we stand strong, and we can accomplish anything, including getting our salaries more in line with the amount of work we do. Because I guarantee you out there listening, there's not many people that are happy with their paycheck and they know they should be worth more. With all that being said, we wish to thank you for joining us on the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit like, share, subscribe. Buy the merchandise, which are the books listed in the link down below, and we hope you have a fantastic day.